Welcome back to part 2 of how to make a drawer. All right, let's jump right into this. Right now I got my router table set up to router these grooves. Again, these grooves are going to be 1/4 inch from the bottom of your drawer, sides and face and back, and it is going to be 1/4 of an inch deep. Now, obviously, when you make your own drawers, it can be not necessarily whatever you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be exactly 1/4. And depending on the slide you're going to use, it might not be 1/4. This is 1/4 is what I'm using for my particular slide, and we went through some of those measurements in that first video. So I've got my router table here. If you're going to be a woodworker, having a router table is going to be kind of essential. I made mine myself, except for the PowerTech faceplate here, router plate. This is not something obviously I bought, and I fitted into my router table along with the guides and the clamps. I think that's as essential. I mean, my first router table I made, I didn't have this, but I just couldn't quite get the exactness I wanted with when I did my cuts with my various bits. So the faceplate has helped a lot. I also have another thing. If you're going to do any serious routering, is you're going to need some little measuring blocks, and I have a whole kit of them. Also PowerTech. Kind of a coincidence that the PowerTech faceplate and the PowerTech blocks. That was just kind of a coincidence. Sponsor me, PowerTech. Probably need some more subscribers before they will, but we'll work on that. So yes, I got my 1/4 PowerTech measuring block. And I've got my bit in here is 3/16 of an inch. It is, so technically the plywood bottom of the drawer this is 1/4 plywood. Now, in the third video that I'll post, I kind of made some incorrect statements regarding plywood thickness. The gist of it is that just because it says when you buy it, it's because it says 1/4 of an inch plywood. It's not. It's slightly smaller. In fact, the exact thickness of this could be somewhere between 1/32 or 1/16 of an inch smaller than 1/4 of an inch. The reason because, like with a lot of woodworking things, they measure the original thickness, the nominal thickness, was going to be different than the actual thickness. The nominal thickness is what the plywood is when it first gets made, and then they sand it, and because they sand it, they remove a small portion of the veneer, and so it ends up actually being slightly thinner. So I know it's really confusing. I'm going to make another video on exactly why and how to why they do that and like what that means in terms of woodworking. But for now, what you need to know is, yes, this is slightly smaller. So this is actually 7/16. Is that right? This is 1/4 of an inch. This bit is 3/16. This is 7/32 of an inch. Follow me? So essentially, this is what is 8/32, right? 8/32 is just 1/4 of an inch. So this is actually slightly bigger. This bit here is 3/16. So what that is, that is 6/32 of an inch. 6/32 of an inch. That means that this is 1/32 of an inch bigger. Not very much, right? That's a very small difference in thickness, but it will affect how that fits in there. The way you get around that is you just have to run this through several times. The first time you run it through, it's not gonna fit real snug. It's gonna fit too snug. And then you run it through a couple more times, and it'll eventually slide right in. So why don't we just fire this thing up? So yeah, first things first. So I got my measuring block. I put it, when you use this measuring block, it's always a good idea to unplug the router. Anytime you're messing around with the router bit, I unplug it. I actually had a toggle switch go bad on a router, and it was kind of, wouldn't necessarily turn off when it's supposed to, it wouldn't turn on when it was supposed to. So it was kind of a freaky situation, made for a freaky situation sometimes. I always just unplug it when I mess around with it. But yes, when you measure the distance between your router bit and your guide rail, router guide, you want to make sure the blade is facing towards it. And once you got it facing towards it, then you move your measuring block through and make your measure and adjust. The reason you do that is because the blade comes out further. Is like the furthest point on the bit. So you want to, and that's where the cut's going to take place. So you want to make sure you're measuring from the tip of the blade. So yes, exactly 1/4, right where I want it to be. Also, I want to make sure I'm at the right depth. So now I'm going to turn it on the side, put it right up against the blade. I'm just going to kind of feel with my finger, and yes, that is right where it should be. So perfect. The bit's in the right place. My clamps are tight. Safety goggles on. Should have air plugs, but I kind of lost mine, so I need to get some new ones. Okay, and now I'm just going to run this through. I also got my little helper stick here. Also, routers, you always want to push into the blade, right? So the blade spins counterclockwise. What do we want to do? We want to push into the cutting. It's cutting this way, right? It's circling back around, so we want to push into it. We don't want to push the other direction because what's that going to do? It's going to want to pull the thing your router in with it. So, and it's going to pull your hands into the blade. You don't want to do that. You want to, if anything happens and it kicks, you want it to kick this way, pushing you out of the way, not pulling you into the blade. Okay, and normally I would also hook up my vacuum cleaner, but I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, let's do this. Okay, easy as that. Now, where's my broom at? Gonna sweep out that groove, and we'll do a test fit. As I said, it's a little it's not gonna work. It's too tight. So let's run it through again. Basically running it through multiple times, each pass, because nothing you do in woodworking is perfect. And even with a precisely built table like this, there's some little differences in terms of each cut you make. Your original cut, it's gonna end up being just slightly off each time. And that'll take what is supposed to be a 6/32, right? 1/3/16, 6/32 bit there is going to create a groove that's actually slightly bigger than that. Just slightly. And we just need slightly bigger. And look at that. The original cut, this wasn't going to slide in, right? But with the multiple passes, now it fits perfectly snug, just like that. Now, there you go. Now you could go with a an actual 1/4 bit, but then you're gonna have a little bit of play in terms of your groove. I prefer it to be nice and tight myself, but yeah. And also, if you really need a little, if this isn't working, you could always use the table saw. Another table saw is also another way to cut these grooves, but I generally don't like that method. I'd rather use the router. Okay, I think that's all I got for this video. I've already actually cut the drawer. I'm kind of actually doing this after the fact because I've already cut my drawer pieces and got them assembled. But yes, subscribe and continue our journey on part 3, where we start doing, what was I doing? Yes, I did a lot of the cutting for the bottom of the drawer and did a little assembly. So yes, catch you on the next one.